Hamitakipi. Hamitakipi, can someone give me a thumbs up if you can hear me or something? Or a comment? Okay. Danielle, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. We'll wait. I want to wait just for a little bit just to see who, just to give people time to get on. Hopefully my signal holds this time. In my last video when we were in Pier, my signal gave out, but hopefully it holds this time. Or if there's any audio issues, just let me know in the comment section. Just giving people a few more minutes to get on. I think it's just now 9:30. Thanks, Trey. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Carla. I think on my end, we're at 38 people. I don't know how many people are planning to get on. I know from the support, social media, and different places, there was a lot of people interested in this. There was a lot of people interested in this issue. So maybe when we get to 50, I guess we'll start. We're at 46, so vote for Reg. I should fake run for tribal council again. We're in the middle of a tribal council campaign season. All right, we're at 50. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to everybody who sent letters of support, who gave letters of support, who gave encouragement, prayers, who reached out to us, me and my family, and all of the well wishes. It means a lot to me and my family. I never imagined that things would get this far. I never imagined that people would seek this much retaliation and target tribal citizens. And so the Lakota Language Consortium has been dividing our people for many years. But I'll get into that. But first and foremost, I just want to say the decision. Okay, I know people don't want to wait for everything, but just a little of how the hearing went and how I felt the hearing went. I think the hearing went amazing. Amazing. I feel vindicated by what happened in the hearing. And Big Fire Law was amazing. They turned their witnesses inside out. Their witnesses were frustrated. They were getting angry. They were getting upset. They would bring into question all of these little kind of pitiful talking points that they have. I think the LLC was embarrassed yesterday. Especially, I think they're going to be embarrassed as the transcripts get out and the recordings get out. I recorded everything. I'm going to give those recordings out. What the tribes really need to be aware of is that they know what they're doing in regards to intellectual property, and it's on record now. They know what they're doing. They know about licensing in perpetuity. They know about copyright ownership. They admitted they never gave the copyright ownership back on my grandmother's stuff, and that they can't, because they need to have license in perpetuity, meaning they need to continue to sell this stuff because it won't benefit the schools if they're not selling stuff, right? So Jan Ulrich admitted to that yesterday. Jan Ulrich also admitted that they're a publishing company, even though my lawyers didn't even ask. He said LLC is a publishing company and we need waivers. The other thing that Ulrich said was that in the field of linguistics, it's not common practice to have whoever's giving the interview seek legal counsel before they sign documents. And he said it's common practice in linguistics, which again was one of our points. And they also said that my grandmother wasn't given legal counsel before she signed these things. He struggled with remuneration. He struggled reading the document himself. And then he said that English is his third language. And then my lawyer said, so did you give Dolores Taken Alive this document and waiver in her language? And they said no. And they still feel that they have rights to my grandmother's stuff, that they still have property rights. They still see it as their property. So no matter what they're saying online, no matter what they're, whatever they're saying, it's fundamentally not true. And then they're on record now. They feel they have rights to this stuff. They feel that it's their property. And they feel that they need to retain all of these copyrights and all of this stuff in order to continue selling it. And that they are a publishing company. So with Maya, a lot of his stuff was Big Scary Indian Man, like really leaning into these stereotypes and racism that we as Indigenous people face. And I told the commission in my testimony, because their lawyers, and I don't think their lawyer, he's either really incompetent or really arrogant, but he walked them off a cliff. The LLC needs to get outside of their own echo chamber into reality, because the stuff that they think they say, it just does not hold up in a formal setting. And you guys will get to hear all of that. I recorded every word of it. So anyway, with Maya, and so in the beginning of this conversation, they were trying to say that I did this because of a social media post that I made, that I prayed before I went and I'll get sued. And they said, why'd you do that? And I said, I'm very aware of where I'm at. I'm in South Dakota. When my grandfather came back from World War II, there were signs in the windows that said no dogs and no Indians in McLaughlin, South Dakota. And that's what he came back to. I said, we're still followed in stores. I said, and as an Indigenous person, we can't show emotion because of the angry Indian and all of these stereotypes. I said how basketball coaches, football coaches, every Friday in South Dakota, you'll see them. They'll raise their voices. It's recorded. They coach with passion. But how people talk about them is they're doing it. Oh, they're defending their kids. They're working for calls. They're passionate. And I said, why can't Indigenous people defending their language and their grandparents and their families be passionate? I said, but we as Indigenous people can't show emotion because it's the stereotypes that people get into of the angry Indian trope. I said people lean into those. And I said, and people have their own biases and ignorance and stereotypes and all this kinds of stuff. And so it also got on record that the tribes, there were 9 tribes that supported me and supported Lisa. And that was on record. The LLC lawyer, Minsky, he was trying to keep that stuff out. He said it was hearsay. But the commission's lawyer said it's already on record. Mr. Taken Alive already testified to it. The other witnesses, basically Alex Fire Thunder was paid to be there. He's a salaried employee. He admitted he makes $68,000 a year. And he was on salary. My lawyers got him to say that, and that was part of his testimony. And so that's on record. And then what was so cool about it all is My lawyers called one witness, and that was me. And she used their witnesses to tell the story and totally turned them inside out. There was a lot of like immaturity in that room from the LLC supporters. There was, almost everyone that supports the LLC was in that room. It's just, they're a small faction of people. And we had a lot of support, family, friends, supporters, council people. It was really good. It was beautiful. And so you have to take a step back and look at the context of where I was going. I was going to the state commission. I was before all non-Indigenous commission members. I was before, there was no Indian person on that commission. They were all women. All of the commission members were women, right? And so I was up against it. The deck was stacked against me in the state with individuals that just don't know our culture, don't know, how much our language means to us, don't know, all of these things. And the LLC, this is the area that they wanted to take it. They wanted to lean into that, into the kind of like people not knowing, and then the stereotypes and the biases and the angry Indians and all that kind of stuff. And so they took this to state court, or the state teaching professional practices, right? And I think it was Maya or Ulrich, one of them, said that the board voted unanimously to come after me and my wife. And so Maya was, they were trying to paint me as the angry Indian. Maya, he never called for security. He never filed a police report. They didn't pack up their stuff and go from the trade show, right? None of that stuff. And then 2 years later, they sent a cease and desist letter, and then they come after us in the state. And so my lawyer made the point, well, so you're coming after his livelihood, how he makes money, and you thought that was more appropriate than just a little misdemeanor charge that you could have pursued. And it was like they were like seeking like the death penalty for an educator, you know what I mean? And it was voted on unanimously by their board. And so I'm trying to think of all the things that were said. It was 7 hours. Yeah, it was all that. So we got the decision this morning, and I know that's what people are here for, and I'm sorry for kind of dragging this out and dragging my feet. But to me, to Big Fire Law, to my family, it's a huge, huge win. Because although the entire deck was stacked against me, I get to retain my teaching licensure in the state of South Dakota. And they dismissed that part and all of those other counts. So the LLC sent 23 pages of complaints against me. And what I will receive is just a public reprimand on one little complaint. So you have to think about how the deck was stacked against me. All non-Indigenous commission members in the state of South Dakota, right? And we won. And we won. Oh, Alex, one of the witnesses is on here, who makes $68,000. So we won, and Big Fire Law got them on record going forward with our intellectual property fight and our copyright fight. And they admitted it on record of what they're doing and what they know they're doing. And so as we go forward, all of the tribes need to be aware of what's been going on. And so I just want to say thank you for all of the support. The 9 tribes that supported us, that wrote letters of support, I really think that this was a terrible move by the LLC, and I really think their organization is really getting close to being finished. And there are ways that this could go different in the legal system for them. And so anyway, I'm very, very excited. I'm very, very excited. I'm excited with how it went out. I'm excited with what happened. I'm excited with the decision. I'm excited with my lawyers, man. They did an amazing, awesome job. They did an awesome job. Any tribes out there, anybody, look up Big Fire Law. Look up Big Fire Law. He made the law firm that represented Trump. So Pichetto and Lenz, the law firm that Minsky was from, they represented Donald Trump in one of his impeachment hearings. They also represented, they also fought to preserve a Columbus statue in the state of Pennsylvania and to preserve Columbus Day in the state of Pennsylvania. And so you have this huge conservative law firm that the LLC used, and they were turned inside out by indigenous women lawyers in the state of South Dakota. And so I'm really glad. I'm really happy. I'm excited. I feel vindicated. We got a lot of things that we needed on record. We got it on record. And so I know NPR reached out, NBC News reached out, and so we're gonna forward all the recordings on. We're gonna forward all of everything on, and then the tribes are still asking. Some of the tribes are asking if we'll come in and share the story and share what's happened. And now, when we do that, we have the record. And not just their little social media sayings. Because right now, what I think you could do is you could post their social media, what they're saying, and have their own words and the recordings refute what they said. So it's one thing to say something on social media and all that, and it's another thing to say it on record, right, under oath. And so, again, I just want to say thank you to everybody. I want to say thank you for all of the support. I want to say thank you. I'm excited. I feel like the LLC really united the Oceti Sakowin, united the people, and have awakened the people to intellectual data sovereignty, to language sovereignty, and how important our data is to us as indigenous people. And I'm going to post all the recordings. I'm going to post the hearing. It was a public hearing. I recorded it all. I got it all on record. I'm going to post it. We're also going to send those to the tribes as well as the press and get this story out there. And so what this was about was, I feel like this was put in our path. I had dreams about this. And this was put in my path. And so when people criticize, hate, lie, all that stuff, I would just go back to those dreams, and they would give me strength to continue. And so I'm really, grateful for all of this. It's been trying. It's been difficult when people come after your livelihood, when people come after your career and how you put food on the table, right? How you feed your daughter, and try to get you taken away from your own home community, your kids, your relatives. It's just colonization, and it's violence, and it's lateral violence, and it's all of that stuff. And so I'm glad at how it happened. And this is a huge win, and this is a huge success for us. And as we go forward, it'll be really good for our tribes whenever we reclaim all of our intellectual property that was taken with unfair waivers, that they knew what they were doing, and they still claim that they have property rights over it. No matter what people tell you on social media, no matter what, it's on record now of what they said. And so I'm extremely grateful for it. And I know other tribes are looking at what they want to do, much like what Standing Rock did. And I think Standing Rock, they could take, I know I don't want to say too much, but there's steps that Standing Rock can now take too. And so I'm really grateful. My wife's my wife's decision is tomorrow. So as Indigenous people, we're taught to always defend women and children. And so we had a bunch of men come after an Indigenous woman and an Indigenous educator, come after her livelihood, come after her career, come after her license, come after her education. And my wife handled it with so much grace, so much beauty, and in the way that she does. And her hearing was private, so I couldn't be in the room with her. But there was 3 men sitting there, and then these other Indigenous men, Lakota men, on their board who voted unanimously to come after us, to come after an Indigenous woman, to target an Indigenous woman who had nothing to do with this, is very, very wrong in our Lakota ways of life. We always fought to protect and defend the women and children. And so that's where my wife's at. And her decision is tomorrow. And so I don't know. We don't know how that's going to go. But for today, it was a big win. It's a big win. And I think the LLC just shot themselves in the foot. It was comical. They were being very immature, sitting in the crowd, much like they did at the tribal council, right? It's I feel vindicated, and I feel grateful, and my rights were upheld. My First Amendment rights were upheld. And so we can continue to talk about anything and continue to be strong for our people. I just want to say thank you. And I just want to say I'm grateful again for everybody and everything. They lied and said we didn't, their supporters lied and said we didn't need a legal fund when we did. And they met us halfway. They gave us the lowest possible rate that they could. But they're the best in the biz. Big Fire's the best in the biz. And so they need, we want to make sure that we pay them. They should be paid, the best in the biz. And so we needed a legal fund. They said that somehow I would enrich myself off of, why so much? $50,000. I'll straight up tell you right now, we have 21,000 in that account. That was spent a long time ago. So it's just more lies, right? It's just more lies. It's just more attacks. It's just more targeting. It's just more harassment. All of that stuff. For those that know, when you look at lawyers' fees, when you look at all of that stuff, right? It's all of that. So we're grateful. We're grateful. And I see Alex Joaquin Preta in the comments, and just everything he says, just take with a grain of salt, grain of sand, however that saying goes, because he's on record that he's a paid salaried employee that makes $68,000. Don't let him get you fired up. Don't let him get you bent out of shape. He's a salaried employee that makes more than, I don't know any public school educator that's not an administrator that makes $68,000. So don't let him get you out of shape. It just shows their continued harassment, their continued targeting, all of that stuff. So yeah, he's salaried with the Lakota Language Consortium, who filed these complaints against me and my wife. And so I just want to say thank you again. I'm going to cut it off here. Thanks again. We really appreciate all of it. Hejtulopp.